Hello, beautiful souls. So today we are on to another lesson, lesson 184. The name of God is my inheritance. The name of God is my inheritance. We saw from yesterday that we can call upon God's name and my own, insinuating that God's name is our own. We are shared in this holiness. So today we truly do recognize that the name of God is my inheritance. It was what I inherited by simply being what I am, a child of God. So let's see what beauty streams forth from today's lesson, shall we? Boom, right off the bat. You live by symbols. You have made up names for everything you see. Each one becomes a separate entity, identified by its own name. By this you carve it out of unity. By this you designate its special attributes and set it off from other things by emphasizing space surrounding it. This space you lay between all things, to which you give a different name. All happenings in terms of place and time. All bodies which are greeted by a name. And I don't know about you, even with this first open paragraph, it's reminding me of the very first few lessons that we had learned to accept in our mind, right? That we give everything the meaning that we see, right? That nothing I see means anything except to the meaning that I give it. And so Jesus is reminding us that we live by symbols, that we have named everything, which means we've judged everything. And by naming everything and labeling everything, we are separating it off from unity. We are thinking that it is something separate than what is one and what is whole. So this is a powerful realization that we can all see within our own perception, that this is currently how we view the world. For everything has a name, everything is a different thing. And what that name and that thing and that label and that meaning is all based on the past and what we gave it before. So it's not accurate anymore. So this is perfect. This space you see as setting off all things from one another is the means by which the world's perception is achieved. You see something where nothing is, and see as well nothing where there is unity, a space between all things and you. Thus do you think that you have given life and separation. By this split, you think you are established as a unity which functions with an independent will. What are these names by which the world becomes a series of discrete events, of things ununified, of bodies kept apart and holding bits of mind as separate awarenesses? You gave these names to them, establishing perception as you wished to have perception be. The nameless things were given names, and thus reality was given them as well. For what is named is given meaning, and will then be seen as meaningful, a cause of true effects, with consequence inherent in itself. As I even pause here for a moment, truly what is coming to me is as a child who used to name your teddy bears or used to name your animals. Once you name these teddy bears or animals, they become real to you. They now have a character, they now have a personality, they now have a part in your life. And so it's the same thing here, that once we start to label and name all of these things of the world, they automatically have meaning to us. And this is how our perception is made. It doesn't mean that this perception is real because it's not the eyes of God, but it is the eyes of how we currently see it based on what we have labeled and named something to be or mean from the past. This is the way reality is made partial vision, purposefully set against the given truth. Its enemy is wholeness. It conceives of little things and looks upon them. And a lack of space, a sense of unity or vision which sees differently, becomes the threat which it must overcome, conflict with, and deny. This is crucial. To the perception that sees everything as names and labels and as separate, the idea of wholeness and unity scares the bejeebas out of that thought system. So this is why we are overcoming conflict and denial, because when we are seeing things as separate things that we've given meaning to, that is through the eyes of separation. So the thought of wholeness or unity frightens that mind, because then that means the destruction of that mind. Because once the unity and vision of wholeness is received instead, we no longer see things as separate. We no longer see things as having space between them. There's no space between us, and we know that and see that truly with the eyes of God. Yet does this other vision still remain a natural direction for the mind to channel its perception? It is hard to teach the mind 1,000 alien names and 1,000 more. Yet you believe this is what learning means. It's one essential goal by which communication is achieved and concepts can be meaningfully shared. This is the sum of the inheritance the world bestows. And everyone who learns to think that it is so accepts the signs and symbols which assert the world is real. It is for this they stand. They leave no doubt that what is named is there. It can be seen, as is anticipated. What denies that it is false is but an illusion, for it is the ultimate reality. To question it is madness. To accept its presence is the proof of sanity. Dun dun dun. Right? Because the sum inheritance that the world bestows is the all-encompassing perception of separate things and names and language. Right? So words are symbols of symbols. Words are trying to give little symbols, little meanings to the thoughts in our mind, and the thoughts themselves are also just symbols of what we're trying to mean. So they're symbols of symbols, and once we've learned these symbols of the symbols, that is what the sum inheritance that this world has to give. That's all that this world has to give, is ideas and meanings and labels and characters and all of these things, right? But that doesn't mean that that is what we are. That is the illusion of what we are. And so in that place, doubt is wholly possible, and so is fear and madness. And such is the teaching of the world. It is the phase of learning everyone who comes must go through. We must go through this learning of the world in order to undo the learning of the world to remember God, right? So such is the teaching of the world. It is the phase of learning everyone who comes must go through. But the sooner he perceives on what it rests, how questionable are its premises, how doubtful its results, the sooner does he question its effects. Learning which stops with what the world would teach stops short of meaning. That is key, okay? Learning which stops with what the world would teach stops short of meaning. In its proper place, it serves but a starting point from which another kind of learning can begin. A new perception can be gained, and all the arbitrary names the world bestows can be withdrawn as they are raised to doubt. Yes. So when we think that learning stops at what the world teaches in all of its schools, in all of its churches, in all of its universities, in all of its etc., if we think that's where learning stops, well then literally we have stopped short of meaning, because nothing in this world has meaning except the meaning that we give it. Their only true meaning is of God. So when we don't go to God for the learning, we've stopped short where there isn't any meaning, right, at all. And so what this does is, in this awareness, it opens us up to the new perception. It opens us up to true perception with God. Because now we can bring the arbitrary names that the world is currently meaning to the light, to simply look at it. And then now they're raised to doubt. Now they are raised to question. So this allows us to truly be able to see beyond the world's learnings and teachings and see beyond it to the truth. See beyond it to what God shares. Think not you made the world. Illusions, yes. But what is true in earth and heaven is beyond your naming. When you call upon a brother, it is his body that you made appeal. His true identity is hidden from you by what you believe he really is. His body makes response to what you call him, for his mind consents to take the name you give him as his own. And thus his unity is twice denied, for you perceive him separate from you, and he accepts the separate name as his. Yes, it all has to do with how we look at them. Either we're going to look upon them as a body, which is seeing them as separate, which is then offering this idea of separation to them, and you join in this illusory dream. Or when we look at them, we see the light of God there. We see the child of God there, which is the identity that we can share. And then we're included, and then we're whole, and then we're the same. You know, this is where we're going, right? This is where we're going. It would indeed be strange if you were asked to go beyond all symbols of the world, forgetting them forever, yet were asked to take a teaching function. You have need to use the symbols of the world a while. But be you not deceived by them as well. They do not stand for anything at all. And in your practicing, it is this thought that will release you from them. These thoughts don't mean anything. The names that you gave everything doesn't mean anything. It is this thought that truly does free us. It truly does set us free, right? We are here not to be deceived by the words and the names that we have given things. They become but means by which you can communicate in ways the world can understand, but which you recognize is not the unity where true communication can be found. So we're still going to communicate, as you can see what I'm doing right now. So words are used as a means of communication with our brothers back and forth, but it doesn't stop at the words, right? Because what's really happening here is that the content beyond the words. The words are just the symbols. It's just the form. But we're moving to the content of it. What is the intent behind it? And the intent is God. Thus what you need are intervals each day in which the learning of the world becomes a transitory phase, a prison house from which you go into the sunlight and forget the darkness. Here you understand the word, the name which God has given you, the one identity which all things share, the one acknowledgement of what is true. And then step back into darkness, not because you think it real, but only to proclaim its unreality in terms which still have meaning in the world which darkness rules. So yes, Jesus is saying that we're asked to step into the light for a moment, where we recognize that our name is the name of God, where we recognize that there is only one identity, and where we understand the word. And once we've had that experience in the light, so do we come back into the darkness with the light. And now we can give and see that light in all of our brothers and sisters. And now together are we in heaven. But it is up to us to have that light episode. It is up to us to be carried into the light and see everything crystal clearly so we can bring it back into the darkness, which is where it is needed. This is what we're being asked to do today. Use all the little names and symbols which delineate the world of darkness, yet accept them not as your reality. The Holy Spirit uses all of them, but he does not forget creation has one name, one meaning, and a single source. Okay? One name, one meaning, and a single source which unifies all things within itself. Use all the names the world bestows on them, but for convenience. Yet do not forget they share the name of God along with you. So behind all names, behind all labels, behind all characters is the name of God, our shared one identity. We must never, ever, ever forget that. So here in truth, God has no name. And yet his name becomes the final lesson that all things are one. And at this lesson does all learning end. All names are unified. All space is filled with truth's reflection. Every gap is closed and separation healed. The name of God is the inheritance he gave to those who chose the teaching of the world to take the place of heaven. Oh my God. Yes. Yes, the name of God is the inheritance He gave to those who chose the teaching of the world to take the place of heaven. Wow. In our practicing, our purpose is to let our minds accept what He has given as the answer to the pitiful inheritance you made as fitting tributes to the Son He loves. This is exactly what we were communicating on our walk just maybe an hour ago, right? That everything that we have brought forward is the reinterpretation of how this world currently sees things. And we were just talking about our educational system that came forward as the Center for the One, which truly is the place of heaven. It's the name of God, even if we're not using the words God and heaven in it, to truly be the representation and the change of God's teachings instead of the teachings of this world, but not excluding the teachings of this world, included in it, but now the purpose has changed. The intent is changed. This is... No one can fail who seeks the meaning of the name of God. Experience must come to supplement the word. This is crucial. Experience must come to supplement the word. It has to go into experience beyond the word. But first you must accept one name for all reality and realize the many names you gave its aspects have distorted what you see, but have not interfered with truth at all. One name we bring into our practicing. One name we use to unify our sight. And though we use a different name for each awareness of an aspect of God's Son, we understand that they have but one name, which He has given them. It is this name we use in practicing, and through its use, all foolish separations disappear which kept us blind. And we are given strength to see beyond them. Now our sight is blessed with blessing. We can give as we receive. This is so perfectly timed in my life. Now our sight is blessed with blessing. We can give as we receive. And we get a beautiful prayer to finish off today with. Oh my goodness, how beautiful. So let's close our eyes here in humbled gratitude. Father, our name is yours. In it, we are united with all things, and you who are their one Creator. What we made and call by many different names is but a shadow we have tried to cast across your own reality. And we are glad and thankful we were wrong. All our mistakes we give to you, that we may be absolved of all effects of our errors seemed to have. And we accept the truth you give in place of every one of them. Your name is our salvation and escape from what we made. Your name unites us in the oneness which is our inheritance and peace, which is our inheritance and peace. Amen. Father, our name is yours. That's calling them in, beautiful souls. Father, our name is yours. The name of God is my inheritance. The name of God is my inheritance and yours and ours, together and as one. I love you all, beautiful souls. Enjoy today's miraculous lesson from A Course in Miracles.